Thursday, November 18th. Please rise and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Allow me to note the exits in the rear there, down a short corridor here.
I will call for the order of the day.
We open the public hearing regarding the sign ordinance. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Is there public comment regarding the proposed sign ordinance?
We need to read the...
Please read the notice.
Please
Yes.
take notice, Town Board of Town of Southeast shall hold a public hearing on November 18, 2010 at the Dunford Civic Center, or as soon thereafter as, at 7:30 p.m. or soon thereafter as interest parties may be heard to consider proposed local law which would amend Section 138-75A16 of the Town of Southeast Code to provide that certain exempt signs may only be placed no longer than 21 days prior to the event advertised, must be removed no more than 5 days after the event advertised. In addition, such section will be amended to limit the number of signs advertising a specific event that may be placed in proximity to the same sign. Copies of the proposed local law may be obtained from the Office of Town Clerk during normal business hours. All persons having interest in the proposed local law will be given an opportunity to be heard at this time.
Thanks, Will. Is there board comment? Is there public comment regarding the proposed sign ordinance? Yes.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm going to read a letter into the record, and then if it's okay, Ruth, I can hand it in to you. Dear Supervisor Wrights and members of the board, in looking through various sign codes and a memorandum from New York State, it appears any reference to election or primary day should be removed from any proposed code. To ensure First Amendment rights and avoid any discrimination, all temporary signs should be referred to simply temporary signage, no matter what the content. The simplest way to regulate all temporary signage seems to be charging a modest sum for a sign permit while limiting where the signs can be placed and the amount of time a temporary sign is allowed. Obviously, this would apply to all signage, including contractors working on private property, tag sales, commercial, and political signage. On the plus side, some revenue might actually be generated, and fewer signs might actually be placed. It also appears that this code has a better chance of withstanding a constitutional test. What will be key here is enforcement. If from the start the zoning code enforcement officer quickly pulls any illegal signs, those who paid for the signs but not for the permits would quickly realize that they had made a bad investment. In other words, if an illegally placed sign is pulled down within 48 hours, the offender will realize the sign will not have been displayed long enough to have delivered the message. In addition, repeat offenders should be fined. Finally, it is imperative that signs no longer be permitted in any right-of-way, and I do understand that's what the sign ordinance said before. Southeast has become so covered in signs that by late October we become a blur of litter. To add insult to injury, we've now experienced the entry of negative campaign signage, something none of us want or need. Enforcing a private property-only code will diminish those cowardly and often inaccurate messages. For example, while many will happily advertise whom they are supporting, not many will want negative sound bites associated with their home or their property. In short, let's protect every individual's right to express their views, their professional work, or advertise an important event. But let's clamp down on the indiscriminate placement of signs that has become a blight on our town. Thank you.
Is there further comment? I move we close the public hearing regarding the proposed sign ordinance. Councilman Gross seconds. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously. I move we open the public hearing regarding the dog law, proposed changes to the dog canine control and enforcement in Southeast.
Please take notice of the Town Board of Town of
Wait a minute.
Southeast. Oh, sorry.
Is there a second? Councilman Gross seconds. Please read the notice.
Please take notice, the Town Board of Town of Southeast shall hold a public hearing on November 18, 2010, 7:31 p.m. or sooner thereafter as interested parties may be heard to consider a proposed local law which would amend Chapter 60 of the Code of Town of Southeast entitled Dogs to provide language necessary to carry out substantive procedural requirements of state law requiring that all dog licensing functions be carried out at the local level as of January 1, 2011. Copies of the proposed local law may be obtained from the office of town clerk. All persons having interest in the proposal will be given an opportunity to be heard at this time.
Thanks, Will. Is there board comment regarding the proposed changes to the canine control laws? Is the public? Go
I
ahead.
was just going to say, I guess there's a necessity for us to do this now in New York State, which normally does the dog licensing, is no longer going to do it, and they're requiring all the towns to do it in New York State. So this is why we have to address this matter tonight, before, I believe, January 1st.
Thank you. Alan, would you like to add any comments to the proposed canine control laws?
Only that Ruth and I have had some conversations about doing a dog census, remuneration. We tried to go down this road, I don't know, it was 10, 12 years ago. I see Loretta, who used to work for the courts. She remembers what happened at the time. They were a little overwhelmed at the courts then. I'm sure they still are now, but they weren't processing the tickets that were being written. But there's a lot of potential revenue out there from unlicensed dogs. There is a state program that's in effect now. I spoke to Agriculture and Markets. The same program can be continued when the towns take over all the licensing. And that basically is when you have a remuneration period, no matter how long it is, the towns can charge an extra $5 per new license. And that $5 goes to who's ever doing the census. The town can hire, they could have me do it. If I do it myself, it's going to take forever. You could hire anybody from the Boy Scouts to, high school students, whatever, after school. And if the more the merrier, and whatever information they get, I back them up. And if we have cooperation from the courts, then we can write tickets, which will certainly encourage people to license their dogs. And towns get all the revenue now, so there's some money to be made.
Very good. Thanks, Alan, for that briefing. Mr. Jacknick is our municipal dog control officer. Is there further public comment?
Can I just explain? New York State has mandated that the town clerks do the dog licensing now, so we have no choice. It will cost us money, but we're hoping to recoup it by having more people who have unlicensed dogs. What Alan was talking about, if we do a dog enumeration, my proposal, and it's up to the board, is to keep the fee the same as it was, which is $7.50 if the dog is neutered, and $15.50 if it's not. But if we go through the enumeration and we charge the person who's holding, I don't want to say illegal dog, an unlicensed dog, then it will pay for itself, but then we'll have more dogs in our census, and that will help the town. My suggestion is, and again, it's up to the board, I'd like to, I know a lot of the towns are raising the fees to counteract the cost that we're going to incur. I feel if we register more dogs, that will counteract it. And my suggestion is to keep the fees the same as they are now, which is $7.50, $15.50. And I'd also like to somehow have the seniors who still have to license their dog be forgiven the fee. They would still have to license, but if you're a certain age and you're in the STAR, possibly we could reduce the fees or cancel the fees for the seniors, and that's just my suggestion.
Thanks for that. Further comment? Can I move we close the public hearing portion of the meeting this evening regarding the canine control law? Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously. I move we open the regular portion of the meeting, the voting session. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Item 1, correspondence. You have in your package of materials prepared by Nancy Calfell a list of the correspondence received by the town clerk's office over the past month or thereabouts, dated November 18, 2010. I move we accept that list without reading and waive the reading thereof. Is there a
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Item 2, approval of voucher list. You have a voucher list in the amount of $1,449,508.00. Is there a motion to accept the voucher list as prepared?
Yep, I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? No. Motion carries 4 votes to 1. Item 3, setting of meeting dates and public hearings. All meetings will be held at the Town of Southeast Town Hall, this facility, 1360 Route 22, unless otherwise noted. I move we set a regular meeting on December 9, 2010, pardon me, and a work session on December 16, 2010. Is there a second?
A second.
Councilman Gross seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 4, budget transfers. You have in your materials a memorandum prepared by the town accountant, in this instance, dated November 16, 2010, which refers to certain proposed budget transfers. Is there a second? First of all, is there a motion to accept this memorandum and accomplish these budget transfers as set forth therein?
I make a motion to accept the budget transfers from the town accountant, Ron Hunt.
Is there a second?
A second.
Councilman Gross seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. And I would like to direct your attention to one line in there, the brush and weeds line, which we're enhancing due to rising fuel costs. Item 5, adoption of 2011 Southeast budget. This, earlier today, I received a copy of the third draft budget, which is the final proposed budget for 2011 for the town of Southeast. It contains a proposed 9.79% property tax increase. In actuality, that 9.79% figure is higher because the town board majority have taken capital in lieu of revenue. They've taken capital from capital accounts, which is not replenished in this budget, and they're spending that in lieu of revenue. That practice was criticized, and we were instructed not to do that by the New York State Comptroller in a report I handed out earlier to the audience. Many of you have that. And that report was publicly released last week. The first draft budget, which was prepared by me, proposed a property tax freeze relative to 2010. And I continue to believe and know that there is fat in this budget and we can cut it as proposed. Is there a comment by the board?
Yeah, as far as this budget, the budget that you had, there was no funding for the library, no assessor's office, no tax receiver's office, no funding for the Southeast Museum. That was completely unacceptable. I mean, these are departments that our town residents depend on. As far as the assessor and the receiver, there is no other option. We have to have them. The town receiver actually makes us money every year. It depends. I mean, this year we were very lucky. We made over $100,000 in late fees, which more than paid for itself. If we didn't have a tax receiver office, we wouldn't receive that money.
Well, that was a fluke, as you know, Bob.
But even in the
New York
past,
City paid
even
that.
in the past, we received money in late fees before the taxes are turned over to the county. And that's why it's important to have our own tax receiver's office. But regardless of which, there is no agreement with any other entity to do our tax receiving or our tax assessment. So we had to restore those budgets.